Real Talk with Grace Redman features conversations with fierce and fabulous people from Grace's community and circle who inspire others with their stories of overcoming challenges to create amazing. Grace is an entrepreneur and success coach who works with individuals to diminish their negative mental chatter, boost their confidence, achieve their goals, and increase their prosperity mindset. Get ready for a series of anything goes conversations with remarkable men and women that will get you jazzed for life's unlimited possibilities of success, freedom, and fun. Welcome to Real Talk with Grace Redman. Hello, loves. It's Grace Redman, and thank you so much for joining me on another episode of Real Talk, where I get to have real life, raw conversations with incredible people from my circles and communities who have overcome challenges and created amazing. Today, my incredibly magical guest is Eddy Khawaja. Eddy's curiosity about humanity, consciousness, and life has taken him on a quest for truth and meaning. He studied philosophy, religion, and spirituality in search of answers to many of life's challenging questions. Born and raised in the occupied Palestinian territories, Eddy has since lived all over the world. After receiving his undergraduate degree in forensic chemistry and master's degrees in criminal justice, Eddy has become an accomplished security professional. He has worked in Border Patrol for Homeland Security and currently is serving as a chief security officer in the West African Saharan Desert for an international aid organization. No matter his role, Eddy's quest for spiritual elevation and enlightenment continues. Please help me welcome Eddy Khawaja to this very special episode of Real Talk.
Thank you, Grace.
Welcome, Eddy. Thank you so much for joining me from from across the world. I appreciate you.
Yes, we're about a few hours between us in terms of time duration. So yeah, thank you for accommodating my strange schedule to make this possible. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm and excuse me if I get emotional during this time that we connect, because we are going through a challenging time. And when I spoke to you last week, it reminded me how, regardless of what's going on, that love is the answer, but sometimes it's so hard to come from a place of love and light when we're experiencing so much chaos around us. And
No,
how can we stay in that love and light when there's just devastation happening around us?
that's exactly why we're doing this, Grace. I think not the question is how can we, is how can we not? This is what we have to do here. We have to help our brothers and sisters facing these kinds of tribulations and sufferings and massacres and genocides and conflict everywhere on the globe. And the only way we could do this is with something that actually works. So trying the same old routine and being stuck in the same cycles in the past seems to have not worked at all. So we have to try something different. And this new approach that you are advocating, and I'm just recently being subscribed to, is all about positive energy and utilization of the love frequency, which has the highest energy that is possible to impact change in this environment that we find ourselves in.
And so how it's tough, and I believe that. I mean, I believe in the energy, I believe in the frequency of love. However, as I'm witnessing, the images coming out of, Palestine, it's hard for me to be in that space. Like I feel dense, and I'm having a hard time moving into that energy. How can I move into that energy when I see devastation?
This is exactly the million-dollar question, isn't it? So we have to understand what are we facing here, and in terms of our ability to impact any positive change in this environment, we have to empower ourselves with knowledge. In the Old Testament, there's a verse that I like to reference. It says, "My people perish for lack of knowledge." So if you don't want to perish, then increase your knowledge and learn about how things are working, and this will lead you towards the truth. the truth is our weapon here, and it's not something that is weak. We have to stop this negative frequency that is attacking us by the media, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Open these mainstream media types and many different forums that are available online are being utilized to polarize people, and not necessarily polarize them in a civilized way. It's becoming more and more dense, as you mentioned, more and more instinctively based on hatred and just fear of the other. And
Yes.
for us to actually learn from our past experiences, we have to say, okay, what was done in the past does not seem to be working or taking us where we need to go. So we have to reevaluate our methods and learn from them, and apply the lessons learned and see what we could do different. In this case, it's just knowing the truth is what is different. What makes all the difference is knowing the truth, knowing the truth about you, and knowing the truth about the other that supposedly is your adversary. So I think self-knowledge here is the critical aspect of it, because it will empower us to appreciate who we really are as children of the source and children of the light, and images of the creator, as it says in many traditions. And to that effect, well, why are we acting different? What has caused us to start this life that we find ourselves in? So I think it's important to establish, first of all, are we actually separate from each other? Who are we fighting, and what are we hoping to achieve here?
I love those questions. And there was something else that you pointed out was divide and conquer, separateness. They're trying to separate us.
Exactly.
How does the divide and conquer strategy harm us?
Well, this divide and conquer, they've been utilized by all types of what's the word here that is politically correct? Controlling interests, let's say, to help control the population, and it's been utilized repeatedly because it works. Okay, so it's the oldest trick in their book, and we, as soon as we're born into this incarnation, so to speak, race, we find ourselves into this environment that try to fit us into a certain template. Okay, first you have your family traditions that you have to appreciate, and then learn what is appropriate, what is inappropriate from the family structure, the nucleus of the society, supposedly. And it's a limiting environment. You're unlimited, and then you have to fit into a certain pre-prescribed notion of what your life is supposed to be, according to your projections by your parents and your siblings and your immediate family. And then you find yourself in the school setting where more conditioning is even enforced. Now you realize you're part of a bigger bubble. Instead of just the bubble of your family, now you're a bubble of your school. And you have an authority figure telling you what you need to know to survive, And it's good for us to have this identity, so to speak, because it tells me that, Eddie, okay, you have to go to work at this time. You have to come back at this location for your house afterwards. So this is important for us, our day-to-day activity. But then to attach ourselves only with this identity is where I think the sleight of hand happens here. So we have to be careful on identifying ourselves with this particular image that society is trying to impose on us, and not necessarily subscribe to the old traditions of the tribe and the nation and all these divide and conquer tactics that are not, you don't find them in nature or the universe as a whole. You don't see a galaxy bordered by a fence around it. You just see a galaxy floating in space. The solar system is moving around at I don't know how many thousands of kilometers per hour, and there is no perimeter fence that is protecting it. It's just moving along freely in space. And the same thing with us. Why should we limit ourselves? The limitation was necessary at one point, of course. Yes, that's needed. But now, after we have accomplished what we needed to accomplish in terms of our survival to the next stage, now we have to try to self-reflect and look at who we really are after we have removed our attachment from all these conditioning mechanisms that we have been exposed to. And this is not to reject anything here. This is you're doing this with love. You're doing this with appreciation to all the people that contributed to your upbringing, so to speak, and the valuable experience that you have gained from any interaction you had with any human being or any creature for that matter. So anything that you have encountered does have an impact on us, from the day that you were born all the way to where we transition. So as far as we're concerned here, we have to understand that no, we're not necessarily as separate as they want us to be. And even if we were separate in some roles, there's ways to handle conflict, which is not necessarily being applied or adhered to. And there are better ways than just killing your enemy or killing your adversary. That's one way to solve a problem, sure. But then if you consider everybody else your enemy, you end up with nobody. Who are you gonna, this is not a way it's not a sustainable approach. That's all I'm saying. So we have to find a different way, a different mechanism to help our brothers and sisters to reach all their full potential, empower them by giving them the knowledge that is needed, and avoid, help them avoid being trapped into this system that we're find ourselves in.
And I love how you talked about the conditioning, and there was a point in history where these beliefs that we're conditioned into were necessary for our survival as tribes. And what I heard
Absolutely.
is now that we've elevated and there's technology and knowledge, there's a different way that we can move in this world without killing each other, that we can coexist by what I heard you say is like diving into the knowledge and the truth. And when you say truth, what would that truth be? Is it that we're all connected, there is no separation?
Exactly right. The truth is that we are all here to learn a lesson. Okay,
Mhm.
this planet has been set up by so many theories. And what is the purpose of life? What is the origin of life? Where did we come from? Is it the Bible? Is it the Quran? Is it the Hindus? Is it the Buddhists? Is it the aliens, the Anunnakis? Whatever terms that we're using, all belief systems. When you reach the top of the mountain, that you will see that there are different ways to reach the mountain. But when you're going on it from the bottom, you would think that there's only one way. But when you reach the top, you will realize, hey, there's other ways to reach the top here. There's no issue here. There's no conflict. So why are we fighting over which way to use to reach the top of the mountain? It doesn't make any sense to me. The whole idea of self-awareness is to realize the true nature of the person himself or herself in this case, that are not they are not different than their adversary supposedly. So if I want to know who my enemy is, okay, my enemy is my other. He is somebody that is other than me. So if I want to know about the other, I would know more. The more I know about me, the more I would know about the other, because I would just, at the end, I would just put a negative next to it. So know yourself, fine, then put a negative on it, and then you would know your enemy. So self-knowledge here is a reflection of learning from your adversary, or learning who your adversary is. And once we go through this journey, we end up with certain conclusions that we're all part of the same field of intelligence. We're all part of this cosmic web of beauty and joy and bliss. And we're all having a temporary experience here in this reality we find ourselves in, for the benefit of the source as well here. The source is benefiting from our experiences by living as me or living as you in this particular cycle of incarnation. So once we do this, we realize that we are actually co-creators in this reality, that God and the source has given us this power to impact your reality by just the power of your belief. That's it. This is very simple. And I'm thinking, if this is were to be known, this will solve a lot of problems. We will have no issues. There will be no conflict. So why we gotta have more people talk about this?
And it's because it's hard sometimes to wrap our head around it. And I absolutely
Mm,
believe in the laws, and I believe in the love and the light and the energy. I do. And found
exactly.
it
That's what we do.
I found it challenging because of what I'm witnessing. And I also know that there is a greater good. But when you're witnessing the pain and suffering of others, it's such a challenging concept to step back and say their suffering is part of the greater good.
Yeah, I know. No, that's
It's
not an
hard.
easy one to wrap your hand around. Yeah, yeah. But we shouldn't say in that way that their suffering is for the greater good. And I think the intention of the source for nobody to suffer. Okay, there is no need for anybody to have any bad experiences. But my point here is to understand that nobody's actually suffering. Okay,
Mm.
the true essence, that this is the one that we have to be careful with here, because it might trigger some old conditioning. What do you mean I'm not the suffering? I'm the victim. I'm doing the yes, yes, of course. But I'm saying your true essence, the divine spark that is within you, the divine spark that is within me, the divine spark that is within all creatures, that is beyond suffering. It doesn't get subjected to any suffering. You cannot gain to it. You cannot add to it. You cannot subtract from it. It's self-sufficient perfectly. There is no suffering for God. God doesn't get suffer pretty much. So there is no pain for God. God, there is no. There's only stillness, and there's only presence, and there's only beauty, and there's only joy, there's only positivity and love. There is no suffering. So suffering is an illusion here.
Oof.
The actual, this is what we have to actually face at the bottom line, the conclusion of all this research, that actual suffering is an illusion. The person I'm looking at who is being killed or being massacred or being genocide, this is the divine spark choosing to experience this.
Mm.
Okay, this is beyond my will. This is beyond your will. This is the divine spark's will to experience all possibilities. So it is inevitable. Let's put it this way: in this reality, this polarization is inevitable. But having said that, once we have this polarization of negativity, you know immediately that the inverse of this is already there, because it's a polarized reality we're living in. So as negative as a situation as you see is, that's good, but that's evidence of the existence of the positive side of this on the other side of the equation here. Everything has to be balanced, and we have to focus on that and attract that now, that existence of the positive energy into this reality as a result of this unfortunate suffering that we're seeing.
So what would be the flip side of the suffering that we're seeing? What's an example of the flip side of the suffering that we're seeing?
Well, the flip side is that you could envision a situation where there is no suffering, and there's a best possible scenario for everybody. And this is what we're trying to anchor here as light workers and as grid workers and as whatever the fill in the blank terminology you want to put in here, as messengers of the divine, as
Mhm.
ambassadors of the divine will. We're all here to have a purpose. Our purpose here is to send a little hook like fishing and connect with a high frequency and bring it back, reel it back in. This is the anchoring part of the light. And this is being done extremely beautifully at the global level as a result of what you're seeing here. So this is something we should focus on, and not focus on the negative side, because that will only keep us into the
Mhm.
cycle here. As harsh as it may sound, you feel bad, you feel sad, you feel, of course, but these are all clouds in your sky, and you notice them, and you don't feel bad when a cloud moves away. There's another cloud that is coming, a different formation. You don't attach yourself to a cloud while it's passing in the sky. The same thing with your thoughts. Thoughts are passing through this infinite field that you are have access to, and it's your responsibility and your duty now is to focus on these positive thoughts, empower them with emotion, as we said, energy in motion when we mentioned it earlier, and then just wait for effortless creation to take place.
Mm.
Just your thought with your intention, and give it a good spin of energy with your emotion, attach an emotion to it, believe in your heart that it's true, and you should have it. It says so in the New Testament.
And you're right. And in my book, I write about that. And it's been challenging to. And so what I'm hearing you say is, yes, this suffering is happening and it's horrific and it's a genocide and there's just you know, a lack of humanity. And yes, we see that and we are witnessing it. And let's hold the vision of
Yes,
what we want it to be. And I always talk about I hold the vision of peace. I hold the vision of, love and kindness. So what I'm hearing you say, even though this is so heavy and dense and terrible, we need to stay true to the principles and so the lesson for me here is to stay true to the principles not only when times are good but also when there's just catastrophe in front of me, to hold the vision of love, light, and peace even in the midst of a catastrophe, which for me was feeling insensitive.
I know. You could feel that, but don't be trapped by this, because this is the ego's last attempt to try to tell you, stay with us, play our game, don't
Oh,
leave us.
mhm.
The ego is extremely well
Whew.
designed, and we have to be really appreciative of its ingenuity.
Yep.
And I think this is important because, but just to clarify on this one issue, Grace, from my side, I think the best accelerant for this reaction that you just prescribed, where you actually wish and you envisage happiness and prosperity for people that you care about, the best catalyst for this to actually occur is to wish the same for your worst enemy.
Mm, I got
And this
triggered.
is this is the catalyst. You know, when we talk about chemistry, when you add the catalyst to the reaction, it means speeds it up. So if you want any lack of resistance, this is the only or the best way to do it, in my opinion. As a chemist here, we're talking about.
And again, you're right. And I've studied this. I read about it, and it's easy to practice these principles when the trauma isn't as um, deep or isn't
Person.
as uh, it's what we're witnessing all over the world is is tough. And
It
I want
is.
to so I know that there's been challenging things happening in the world. I think what makes this more hits home for me is because of my lineage. My ancestors immigrated to the United States from Palestine, so I'm experiencing my own personal trauma, and that's activating it much more so and making it more challenging for me to practice the principles because my trauma is activated.
Exactly. No, no, it's not easy. It's not easy. And I was telling Hanan the other day as well. I'm not sure if it was you or Hanan. I'm not sure, but I'm saying doing this for your enemy after you had a personalized experience with your enemy that was extremely negative, that's not possible for most people. Okay, this is not something that you asks anybody to do. Oh, forgive the person who killed my son, or forgive the
Yeah.
person who did this to my mother and my child. This is god level stuff. We're talking about Jesus Christ and Muhammad and all these holy people. God bless them. This is fine. From our side, there's a trick to it. Not necessarily that you are forgiving your enemy, you're realizing who your enemy is. It's just another version of yourself who
Mhm.
was born in a different environment, who was born in a different type of conditioning. Me, I was born in Jerusalem, supposedly. If I was born like a few meters away, I would have been in a totally different environment.
Yeah.
Could have been raised by a totally different family. Could have been raised by a Jewish family. Maybe I grew up to be an Israeli soldier fighting in the IDF. Just because a few meters of space we're talking about in a clamped up area. So I think it's important to appreciate your lineage, and yes, of course, it's something to hold and to be proud of in a way. But don't get that pride as something that you actually did. You didn't do anything to be part of this lineage. You just happened to be born in there.
I was
I'm
just
sure it'd
born.
be exactly.
Right.
So why should we take too much pride in something we have not actually contributed towards? In a way, you could say, "Well, I chose this pre-incarnation." Okay, that's one way to look at it, sure. But right now, where we're doing it right now, we were born in a certain location, in a certain family, in a certain tribe, in a certain nation. We cherish a certain sequence of colors in a flag. We listen to a certain national anthem that's supposed to rile us up and defend the country. My idea is we're all part of one family, one nation. and the planet. The human condition is our family. I'm not going to be attaching myself to a certain nationality if it's going to cause me separation from my other self. My other self happens to be a different person who's experiencing a different reality. So the lesson here, I think, is difficult. It's not easy to wrap your head around. But once you get the basics of it, you start thinking maybe we should do something differently.
That was beautiful, and you're right. It's all of these. I mean, there's nothing wrong. We all want to belong, and it feels good to belong to this group, or it feels good to belong to that
Sure.
group. And what I'm hearing you say is we really belong to the planet. We belong to the race that's the human race. And we are all one. We're all created in the vision of the creator, whoever that may be to you.
Of
If I
course.
say.
You know,
And I mean, I'm going to be transparent, and I might get dinged for this, but I'm just being honest and real. This is the first time in my life, because as a little girl, I sat in front of the television and witnessed my parents crying, and it's happening again, all of these years later, 5 decades later. But this is the first time I have empathy for the other side,
the
and I
other
and I
side.
mhm. And I know there is no
Mm,
other side, and this is the first time I have empathy because we're all suffering, and I know earlier you said there's no suffering. Well, I'm I'm understanding them from their perspective, from the pain, because there's also losing loved ones. And again, it's like we're being controlled by they, and who's they.
mm. Exactly, exactly. Once you realize who the they are, then it becomes easier to appreciate how you could tackle this problem. But let's look at the other Grace. We're talking about the others, they, them, whatever, the other side, okay? Who the other side is, okay? If you want to go back through the ancestors' lines, you end up with the same person, okay? Oh, Abraham started this whole thing. And you have Isaac and you have Ishmael, and then Isaac he had his Esau and he had his Jacob, and Jacob became Israel and he had the 12 tribes. So either they are step brothers or they're twin brothers. So it doesn't make any sense to me all this fighting over something that as artificial as land and space. I mean, I heard a physicist once. He had a demonstration. He had a baseball with him, and he dropped it. And he said, in the time this baseball hit the ground, the Earth moved 18 miles in space around the sun. So it's not landing in the same space, technically. It just, depends on where we are. We're just, because we're stationary here, we're thinking, oh, this is what I have to fight for. This is my borders. I'm very clear about where I belong. Okay, that's fine. You're very clear about where you belong. But also appreciate that there are others in your situations who have the same misguided interpretation of their reality. You have to help them appreciate who they really are as well. And your higher self and my higher self and the higher self of your worst enemy is currently in alliance together at the energetical level. They want the same thing that you want. So the higher self of your worst enemy is totally in harmony with your higher self on the higher dimensions, and they are in harmony with the source's will of nobody suffering, nobody perishing. So this is our objective here. So we have to utilize, align our intention with our higher selves and understand where we could impact change. This is the realm of causation, the realm of effects. The realm of causation is on the higher dimension. So we have to play the game properly. Otherwise, we will end up in the same cycle. Look at what's happening in Gaza. How many operations we had from 2008, 2011, all these. It's like a repetition. And not only in Gaza, we're talking about 1948, 1967, 1956, 1973. How many? The Intifada. I grew up through the first uprising over there. And in that uprising, I was under the team that, hey, you're part of this clan, you have to fight the other clan, and this is part of your destiny. You have to accept it. I said, okay, this is part of the stage that I have to go through at this that time. But now we're thinking maybe there's a different way to win this battle by appreciating that me and my worst enemy are just the source having a divine experience, having a human experience, and I have to appreciate that from that perspective. And from that perspective, there is no suffering. What we're seeing here, okay, yes, of course, but what we're seeing here is the illusion,
Mm.
Grace. This is why they call it Maya in one of these traditions. Maya is a word that means magic or a trick or an illusion, meaning it's not real. What is your reality? What is my reality? It's timeless, it's spaceless, it's beyond he and she, beyond words, beyond symbols. And that's what's inside of you, and that's what's inside of me, and that's what's inside anything that is created, whether it's a rock, whether it's a mountain, whether it's an ocean, whether it's a human being or a plant or an animal in that sense as well. We always say, "Oh, we're special, we're special." We're all reflection of the divine.
And it's beautiful. Everything you said is beautiful. And again, wrapping the mind around it, it takes a moment. And again, I've been studying and practicing this. And again,
Mm.
I'm feeling challenged. However, what I'm hearing you say, this is for our expansion. Like there is the darkness, but the
Of
darkness
course.
is the ego coming to say, okay, are you going to do the same thing over and over, or are you going to move into the light, because the light turns off the darkness. But then
Yes,
if we stay entangled in what I'm hearing you say, if we stay entangled in the darkness and stay entangled in the negativity and stay entangled in the separation and stay entangled in the hate, we're not doing anything different.
exactly. And we're increasing the negative energy that is controlling us. We're giving power to those who are controlling our reality. So we have to change the input of this reality in terms of our what are we sending out to the universe. The universe is a giant mirror. This is exactly how it is. It amplifies what you broadcast, and it sends it back to you, and it doesn't care if you're pretending or you're actually living this. This is the beauty of it. This is the trick. The universe doesn't care if you're pretending that you're happy. It doesn't care. Oh, this is happiness, a broadcast of happiness. I'm gonna tune in happiness towards that signal. And this is exactly how it works. So what you have to do is envision the happiness and the peace for your loved ones and for your relatives and for your brothers and for your sisters. But also don't put an umbrella over your enemies. No, let them benefit as well, because we are thanking them for as well their experience, and thanking them for playing that part that is extremely difficult. And it's not an easy part to play for anybody. I mean, what's happening here, I feel bad for the victims and I feel bad for the perpetrators, because whatever is happening, it's not easy doing this. This is not a good way to live for anybody. I mean, I'm looking at these guys. They always, this is not a life. Habibti. We have to live. God's intention for us cannot be less what I have intention for my children or what you have intention for your children. I cannot be more just and generous than God. Otherwise, what kind of God am I believing here? No, I have to trust that God's vision for me is perfect, and God's vision for you is perfect, and God's vision for anybody who he has created, who he or she have brought into existence, is perfect. And this is what we have to remember: just trust the process and go back. Start at the end in terms of your envision or what your thought and your feelings. That two ingredients for creation.
Mhm.
Think about it, give it an energy spin, and just wait for it to effortlessly occur. You don't have to do anything. You just have to remove disbelief.
So re-engineer it backwards.
Exactly. Start at the end and just go backwards to where your present location is.
And again, all these principles I live, and these are just it's just again in this situation, but now you're helping me shed light. It's 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 the same thing on a grander, more dense, difficult space. um
As above, so below. This is one of the
And
principles.
do you believe, because I do see, again, I've been sitting in front of the TV since I was 5 years old and I'm in my 50s. So 50 years of this. This is the first time in my life that I've seen the voices of, you know, the Palestinian people being heard around the world. And this is not to say, anti, this, and it just,
Mm-hmm.
now
No,
do
no, I
you
know
know,
what you mean.
I'm always, pro peace. Now, do you believe that this coming out is because we're elevating our consciousness?
Well, this is a very good observation you're making, and it's a very valid one. Obviously, a lot of people are supporting the Palestinians on this, especially, I think young generation people are like tired of this nonsense. Sure, fine, but also don't forget that people just came back out of an experience in the past few years with the disease that we have had and the level
Yeah.
of it's we don't want to say any words that may be problematic. I'm not sure about this particular platform, but in other
No, it's okay.
platforms,
Are you talking
it's fine.
about the pandemic and COVID?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The pandemic, people were introduced to many totalitarian mechanism of control, which I thought shocked the reality of many, many people around the globe. And now, with that in mind, they're looking at this. It's like this is not supposed to be happening. So, what happened a few years ago built, it's laid our foundation for many people that hey, certain things are not acceptable and certain things are. So they're realizing they're differentiating between their expectations as sovereign human beings. We're talking about a feeling of sovereignty and freedom here. So what we're seeing here in the Palestinian situation here is that people are identifying with this. Like, I don't want to be in the part of oppressing another human tribe. That's totally unethical. That's totally unjustifiable, especially when you have the power. I mean, if for we have an Arabic saying in the Arabic language, "Al-afu 'inda al-maqdira." You forgive when you're capable of. So if you have all this power and all these weapons and you're still crushing your adversary with brutality, then you're just setting yourself up for karma as well. So we have to be careful, and we have to wish those people who are doing these things an easy transition, because they're setting themselves up for an interesting set of tribulations that might be awaiting them.
I hear you. And again, it's all of us, regardless of what our belief is. We're all a reflection of what is within us.
Exactly, exactly. And we have the dark side within us as well, Grace. This is the important
Absolutely.
part.
Absolutely. And I've felt that activated. And I've had my own shadows activated, my own fears activated. And I recognize, okay, Grace, this is not, about this moment. My own traumas are coming to the surface for me to heal,
Exactly, exactly,
you know,
exactly right.
for me to heal and go deeper into my spiritual connection with God and source, because I truly do believe that the ultimate answer is love.
Exactly. No, this is a scientific observation now. We cannot discount this as a lack of science theory. No, this is what science is telling us. Consciousness in quantum mechanics is the ground of all existence. Your consciousness, your awareness, your belief in any set of value gives it that energy. And what better way to manifest something but to love it? If you love something, you are affirming its existence. You're affirming that, hey, I believe in that thing and I'm willing to sacrifice myself for it. This is the ultimate test of love, supposedly, according to the Christian tradition. So if you love something, you're actually bringing it and keeping it and sustaining it into existence. And this is the power of it.
And I've witnessed, videos coming out of Gaza with the young kids. They're so brave and so courageous, and they're like,
Mm,
we're not leaving. We love, and it's okay. Come and take us. And their faith is so unwavering, and that to
mm.
me is so brave. And I'm sure they have fear, but they're moving into the love for their faith, and that's moved me. Like, I've never witnessed anything like that, and I think that's what you're talking about right now.
Exactly. No, their courage is beyond comparison here, and we have to, bow in admiration for these
Yes,
children of what,
yes,
because they're teaching us, they're teaching humanity the lessons that it needs to be taught here by
yes,
children.
yes. And for me, that's inspired me to move out of my despair. And it's
Yes,
inspired me to continue to speak about love. It's inspired me to have you on, because I know it may not be popular opinion, but I really believe this is the way.
it's
And
the only way. It's the only way that works, Grace. We have to be realistic here and appreciate what actually works and what doesn't work. We have been doing the same act of despair in the past 7 decades, and I'm sorry, it hasn't yielded the results that is. I mean, if we focus on something for 7 years and it hasn't showed up, we have to evaluate our approaches here.
so, I mean, this is all metaphoric.
Mm.
What's going to come out of me is metaphoric. So, would you say, just, and this is for the world, not just for us, Israel is the ego, and maybe, and then you got Palestine, and we're fighting like it's fighting the ego, and then how to separate from the ego. Um, I know I'm sounding crazy, but
It's
metaphorically,
interesting.
what's
It's
coming up?
interesting metaphor. Yeah. Let's not try to attach it to the situation right now because our preconceived notions might have an impact on this. But let's
Here,
look at it from a, what's the word? From a science fiction perspective.
that's
If you look at the,
here.
there's a metaphor in the Matrix, for example, the Matrix movies, and I thought that was an interesting four series movie, which I liked. I like the science fiction part. But if you look at it, Neo is you, and Agent Smith is your ego. Okay, so if you I don't know if you've seen the movies or not. Many of my female comrades and colleagues have not seen the movie, but it's
I have
fine.
not, but I know about the blue pill and the red pill, and kind of know about the Matrix. I was just in the Matrix last week, and it was amazing.
Oh, really? That's nice. That's great. No, but in the movie, it's about self-discovery. Obviously, the big advice from the oracle, which represents the wisdom in the movie, is to know yourself. Knowing
Mm.
yourself, and then you understand that you are also the person and the entity that you're fighting against. Because to win the battle outside, just you all you have to do is just win the battle inwardsly here. And we were talking about chakras and all these energy center activations. Once we reach the third eye here, Grace, this eye is pointing inwards. It's not pointing outwards. We have two
Mm.
eyes pointing outwards, but the one third eye is pointing inside of you to shed
Woo!
the much needed light on your dark side. Your dark side is where creation happens. This is untapped energy, pure energy that it could be used to destroy universes if you actually harness it properly, and it could also be used to create new universes. This is the power that is within you, and I'm thinking, why should we surrender this power to somebody else who will misuse it for us? No, it's our birthright as children of the light to actually utilize and acknowledge this power and utilize it in the proper way. And if your will is in alignment with the will of the source, then the whole universe is your playground.
Uh,
There's nothing to worry about.
so, is it fair to say that when we go within and connect to the peace within us and to the higher source, whatever that means to us,
Hmm.
that's how we help move the collective towards a
Of
greater.
course, this is how you want to change things for your fellow brother and sister who you want to help. Okay, how do you want to help them? By envisaging their best case scenario, giving it the energy. Once you meditate on it a few minutes a day, we're talking about it. We're not talking about go to a temple and meditate and exclude yourself from society. Keep whatever you're doing, just every day in your life, just do a concentrated meditation with that intention, with that envision, with that feeling, and then just wait for the trust that it already happened, because it's in alignment with the divine will. If you don't have any negative feelings towards yourself, others, or the environment, then everything that you're producing is positive, and it will be such an easy transition. And just wait, trust the process, and don't worry about how it's going to happen. The mechanics of it is nothing to do with how it works. You just intend it here, believe in your heart that you already have received what you're praying for. This is what Christ taught his disciples, and you shall have it. Why would a generous and loving God not give you that?
Yeah. So trusting.
Exactly. Have faith. What is trust? Having faith or
And
believing.
yeah, having faith. Again, I go back to the young kids and their brave and courageousness and the unwavering faith. So going back to that, and they are our teachers to teach us humility.
Yes,
Really.
yes.
And
He who humbles himself shall be exalted, and he who exalts himself shall be humbled. This is what these kids are doing, They are just humbling themselves to take on that role and to teach us this much needed lesson at a global setting. I think that the fact that we're seeing this actually on a global awareness level is extremely, what's the word?
yeah,
Optimistic, and it gives you good feelings that you're in the right direction.
I appreciate the word optimistic. And
Yes,
coming from my a higher level of awareness, my higher self knows that this has to happen. However,
yes.
my ego is so uncomfortable. My ego is in pain. My ego wants it to stop. However, it needs to be unearthed, and we need to feel, whatever we're feeling to move us
Mm.
to that higher level of consciousness. And I had the
And I
privilege.
always, yeah, go ahead, sorry.
No, please.
No, no, just about the ego. And a lot of traditions teach or they advocate for the ego as a negative software that you must destroy, you must eliminate, you must reject. My thoughts on this is this: the ego is a necessary part of your
I
existence.
agree.
You must appreciate its purpose. You must appreciate the ingenuity that the tools that it's using to try to dissuade you from doing what you know is right. It's a beautiful run program, and it's it's a marvelous thing. So you should be in alliance with it. You should not reject it. No, but you should say, hey, you have had your time. I know what's going on over there. You service me now.
Yes.
So it becomes your genie in a bottle, so to speak. It becomes your catalyst for whatever change that you want to see around you happen, and it's a powerful tool because it's automatic. You don't have to worry about it. It's like an autopilot.
And I love that because when I first started my spiritual journey, I was taught to eradicate the ego. However, as I've been, walking that journey, I've learned like, no, of course I can't eradicate my ego. It's part of me. So I've learned to befriend it. And so when the ego pops up, my other side's like, okay, like I know you're scared right now and you're afraid and I hear you and thank you for getting me here, but we're going to do this a different
Bravo.
way.
Exactly
Um,
right. That's brilliant. That's exactly what you need to do, in my humble opinion. And I think it's something that all of us should be doing. Exercising this power that we have within
oh,
all of us.
yeah. Yes, and it's again, it's been a challenge, but I also know this is happening for me. This is happening for
Yes.
me. As much pain as I felt, as angry as I
Mm.
felt, as desperate, as helpless, as devastated watching and I know, okay, this is happening for me to stay in my conviction of love because it's
Bravo,
easy.
bravo. Of course. I
Um,
remember a quotation I heard from what's his name? I think his name is Alan Watts. Brilliant teacher, marvelous person. He said, "You are what the universe is doing. The entirety of the universe is doing you. You are the result of it. In the same way as a wave in the ocean is what the entire ocean is doing. So I'm what the entire ocean is doing, and you're what the entire ocean is doing, and we're all what the entire universe is doing at the same time. So this is something to remember. And when we have go back to the water metaphor, if you're in the water and there's a little vortex in the water, that little whirlpool effect, okay, this is not separate from the ocean. It's just a pattern of water that is happening, and you might have different patterns of waters. So you will have a vortex of your own, I'll have a vortex of my own, and we have 8 billion vortices running around in the ocean. Now, does that mean that we're all made of water? We're all made of the ocean. We're all something that the ocean is doing in a different configuration. It's like you're in a pool, and then you see, or in the sea, and you see a plastic bottle that is filled with water. Okay, that glass of water, can it be considered separate from the pool when you're inside, totally submerged? No, it's all part of it. So this separation of the glass shape or the configuration of it is just an illusion. We're just agreeing that it's there. There are no separation in reality between you and me. I heard this one statistic once, if it's accurate or not, but it's a brilliant statistic. Somebody was saying, I think his name is Billy Carson. He said, if you remove the space between the atoms that makes you and makes me and makes the 8 billion people, we would all fit in a sugar cube.
Wow.
If we remove the space. And this is in line with scientific measurements, whereas 99.99% of you and me is empty space. So who's fighting who here, and what are we fighting for? An empty space, trying to fight an empty space over what? Over an illusion of space.
That's so true. And I appreciate all of your perspective and helping me take, what I know to be true and apply it to this, situation.
Good.
I had the opportunity to sit with two mothers, an Israeli mother and a Palestinian
Hmm.
mother. The Palestinian
Wow.
mother came through Zoom from the West Bank, and this was
Hmm.
during last month after the war started, and the Israeli mother was sitting with us, in the room,
Hmm.
and it was challenging. And both women lost. The Palestinian mother lost her 6-month-old son to the IDF. The Palestinian, the Israeli mom lost her son to being, to Hamas. So both mothers lost the child. The,
Hmm.
the the greatest fear in my life is to lose one of my children. That is my greatest fear. And to
Sure.
witness these two mothers coming together, although they both lost children to the other side, and talk about peace, I think was something so beautiful. And after I walked out of there, that's when I felt like to be committed to a process of peace and to go within
Hmm.
myself, as challenging as it felt. And I've talked to
No.
a lot of my friends where they feel like hopeless and helpless. They don't feel like
Hmm.
there's no hope. And Layla was a beautiful woman from coming to us from the West Bank. She said, please don't lose hope, because when we lose hope, we lose. And I feel that is
Exactly.
true for humanity. Because I've seen so many posts like I've lost hope in humanity. Even my girlfriend sent me a post today. I don't have any hope for humanity. And when we lose that hope, we lose. How can we transmute like our anger
Hmm.
into this hope?
All right. I'm gonna say a couple of things that might not be too what's the word?
Politically
Politically
correct?
correct. Yes, yes, yes. First of all, I would like to commend you on what you're doing here. I could never have this ability to manage this type of scenario where you have mothers speaking about the loss of their children in this situation. It's totally beyond my capabilities in terms of what I'm able to do, and I commend you for your efforts in bringing these two individuals together and sharing their perspective. This is not an easy task for anybody, and I thank you for that.
I didn't bring them together, but I was in space where they were. I was invited
Oh
to
yeah,
be in
yeah,
space.
yeah. Just to and that to be sharing in that space. I mean, you're sharing, you're doing an exchange of energy here, which is extremely what you need to do. But from my perspective, obviously, I share the same concern in terms of losing loved ones, or having something bad happen to anybody that you care about, and this and that. But then I come to, what about other people? Other peoples are losing their loved ones. Other peoples are losing many things. They're losing their livelihood. People in Gaza are dying. People in Israel are dying. People in Lebanon and Syria are dying. People in Yemen and Sudan and everywhere there's suffering, there's conflicts, there's earthquakes, there's devastations, there's people going hungry, homelessness in the United States, the richest country supposedly, and it has
Right.
homeless people. Come on, this is not right. So when this whole idea about Martin Luther King's quotation about injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Perfect, yes, but we have to apply it on the global scale here. We cannot have one person suffering, period. There shouldn't be suffering anywhere. This is the function of those who are running things. And if they're not able to do so, we'll just have to remove them and run things on our own. Energetically, I'm talking about, because that's where you impact change. You cannot impact change here in this control-based system that we find ourselves in, but we have this creative power to impact change on the level where it actually makes a difference, and then wait for it to manifest. So we have to have that approach from our mindset. You change your mindset that there is no really suffering. Let me give you this example from that makes my life a little bit easier in terms of bad things happening. I'm assuming, and I'm living my baseline, that we are already dead. Okay, all of us are already dead. This is the worst case scenario for us. We're already in the death realm. And when we say, "Oh, this is a hyper statement," there's no justification for it. How do you mean we're alive? We're this and that. Okay, but in physics, the reality of the exterior world cannot be proven. Okay, you cannot, even if you feel something solid, there is no proof of it that it's actually a material object in front of you. So my point is that if when somebody asked Christ about something in the New Testament, and what should I do to follow you? Well, Jesus told them, go sell everything that you have and follow me. And the guy says, okay, but let me go bury my father. Now, Jesus answered him with a very interesting response. He said, let the dead bury their dead. Now, when somebody says about this, let the dead bury their dead, people say, oh, he's meaning something metaphorically. Maybe he's meaning spiritual death, and they're dead with their sins and blah, blah, blah. And for me, I'm taking it, no. He's speaking truth. He's speaking facts. We're all in the realm of death, and people who transition from this realm are in the land of the living. So when we say God is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, this quotation was done when Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob were long dead for hundreds of years. So how could God be the God of the dead people? No, he's the God of living creatures. So in this reality that we are finding ourselves in, I think of it as the valley of the shadow of death, okay, which is separation. Death is what? Separation. That's it. So we're in the valley of the shadow of separation. And that shadow comes from the tree of knowledge. The tree of knowledge is casting a shadow, and we're living in that shadow. We're confusing this with reality. So this is when I look at it from that perspective, I find things a little bit easier to accept, because this cannot be real, what's happening outside of us, okay? What's happening out there is so nonsensical that is just is not allowed to be for a rational human being to accept. And that's why my point of view from that side, it makes things a little bit more easy for me. I'm not, I'm not saying that this is actually a truth. This is just my way of looking at things. And it might be naive, but it makes my life easier.
So can we say, merrily, 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 life is but a dream?
Exactly. Think about it. If you look at Genesis from the biblical point of view, why did God put Adam into deep sleep when he presented Eve to him? This word deep is problematic to me. Why is it deep? Couldn't he just say, oh, he put Adam to sleep and then he created? No, this deep sleep indicates that there's levels of this sleep, so to speak. And it doesn't say afterwards, it doesn't say that Adam woke up. It doesn't say after this deep sleep, it doesn't say Adam woke up. It just went on to the next verse. So we might actually still be living in Adam's dream. Who knows?
Well, that's when now we're talking about the matrix. There's different, dimensions, and then now I'll be called crazy.
It's all good. It's all good. It's all good. To be called crazy in this world is
Oh, oh my
is
goodness.
something
And
positive.
it's it's just crazy
No,
with
it's out
and
there.
yeah, and I appreciate it again because I believe these things and I write them and I live it, but then in this situation it's been so challenging to stay true to what I believe, and I come in and out of it, and now thank you for helping me recognize to continue to stay true to what I believe, that love, and peace is the answer, but it starts with us. It starts here.
Yes.
I have to start with
Yes.
myself. The next person has to start with themselves, and so on it goes. And I know that it seems whimsical and magical. However, I think it just takes mustard seed. We need to be the pebble in the water. So
Bravo.
so
Exactly.
for those that might be watching and they feel that anger and helplessness and they want to help, they don't know how to help. What would you recommend? What would be the first thing for them to do to help? We all want to help the world. What's one thing how can we start to help the world?
Okay, like you said earlier, Grace, which you said something very beautiful. It's a seed that you're planting here, and then you let God nourish that seed. In the in the New Testament it says, "Let the Holy Spirit take care of it." You just drop the seed, and then the Holy Spirit will do its thing, or the universe will do its thing. Whatever name you want to give it to, it doesn't matter. We're all describing the same thing from different lenses. I'm looking at it from my lens, which is my eye. You're looking at it from your lens, which is your eye, and then filtered by conditioning, of course, as well. The best thing to do is like what you said earlier, is to meditate on this truth that you are the creator. You have to know yourself first. You have to accept yourself, and you have to love yourself. And once you do that, you give yourself the power of creation. And this is your birthright as the child of the light. We're all children of God. He or she brought us into this existence. So we are part of the selected group. Whenever we say, oh, God selected people, God selected people is anybody who comes into existence, period. You came from non-existence to existence. You've been selected. That's it. You're part of God's tribe, so to speak.
So we're
So this
all
is,
chosen people.
of course, we're all chosen before the foundation of the plan of the cosmos. This has happened already. This is the thing what we're talking about. When God looked at the whole creation back in Genesis and he saw that it was all good, he didn't see what's happening right now. Is this surprising to the creator, to the source? Oh, what is this? I did not anticipate this. No, all of this has been pre-calculated into the equations. It was already built in. And still, after all this that we see, God decided that it's good. So there's something that we're not seeing here. Let's try to at least see it from that perspective, from that bird's eye perspective, that things are not as it is as I see it right now. Things are actually good, and I must trust my creator who brought me into this existence, that it is good. And then I just believe that it is good. Once you believe that it is good, you believe that it's good for everybody. And then you have to meditate on that truth. This is a truth that you have just come across. You are the creator, and you are envisaging and commanding, not necessarily only hoping. You have the authority. God gave you the authority when he created you in his or her image. To what is his or her image? Creation. What does God has that he wants to give you? His whole ability. He's not going to give you 1% of his ability or a little bit of drops. It's an infinity of power that you have under your disposal here. So use it. Use it. Some people use it for obviously self love, and there's nothing wrong with that. We should not judge that. But there are others who choose to help others, not just help oneself. And this is also a beautiful path, and we should emphasize that we are on that path, and we want to help others as well. But when I help others, I don't want to just help one specific part. No, I want to help everybody, because this is the best way and the most guaranteed way to impact change. So your resonation with that frequency is like a big bell that you are hitting. And if you hit a big bell with a massive enough strength, their resonance of the bell is going to harmonize everything else. All the little bells that are in contrast, it's going to bring it into alignment. This is physics we're talking about here. We're not talking about wishful thinking here.
No,
This is
that's
the
beautiful.
law of resonance. So that's it. Just a few minutes a day with massive energy of emotion that you already received what you want, that thought that you have came up with. Best case scenario for everybody. This is as simple as it could come. And then give it that intention, give it that energy with emotion. How do you give it that energy with emotion? By being happy, by being prosperous, by being thankful that you already have received it. And once you are grateful, then you'll be full of greatness.
I remember you said that last week, and I loved it.
Yes, yes, yes.
And so what I'm hearing you say is for us to go within ourselves. Make it's okay to go to that higher vibration, not to feel guilty, because I know there's a lot of guilt to
Exactly.
forward in our lives, and to feel good and to do good. I know I've been struggling, with that, but what I'm hearing you say is the way that we can help is number one, go within and gain the knowledge, get peace with ourselves, connect to our higher source, keep moving forward to visualize what we want for the world and ourselves, and that's how we're going to help. It's not going to help if I'm depressed in bed and I can't get out of bed because of what's happening.
Exactly. I mean, this could be what's the word? Paralyzing. If we're
Yeah,
exposed to
it
this
is.
day and day and day out. I've
Yes.
been there. I've been there, Grace. I've been watching the news, and because of my job, I sometimes have to watch the news more than others, And I try to control that as much as I can. I just need to know what I need to know at this stage, and then khalas, I'll get the headlines, and I don't see any
Totally.
more of this. Because this is a weapon, what they're using
Yes.
against us. These
Yes.
these
It,
vibrations are weapons. That's the
they,
only weapon they have.
yes.
Grace, we have the
Yes.
power. They don't have the power to create.
Yes.
So they want us to create on their behalf
That's right.
by
And
giving them the tools and surrendering our sovereignty.
yes, and I talk about that all the time. It's like this is what they want. They want
Yeah,
us to be negative. They want us to feel down. I'm going to get emotional. They want us to be depressed because we're easier to control and we're more vulnerable when we're down. When we rise and we have the courage and vulnerability like those young kids and we have the unwavering faith, then we are unstoppable.
bravo, bravo,
And
exactly. Nobody
uh,
could stop you. Who's gonna stop you?
exactly. So we become unstoppable and they don't want us unstoppable. And who's they? I mean, the they is because when
Even
we're
the they, yeah, even the they, we have to be compassionate with the they as well. So they're there for a reason. Everybody's serving their purpose.
yeah, and there are teachers, because
Yes, bravo.
the most challenging people in my life have been my greatest teachers, and this is one of the most challenging situations I've, faced,
Mm.
and it's teaching me.
Exactly.
It's
No, no, your adversary is your best teacher. Exactly right.
so
But your adversary in this case is also you. This is the
right,
awareness that we have to remember.
right, because I'm sabotaging myself. If I fall victim to the establishment, then I'm
Mm.
weak. Then I
And
can't come in.
that's where they want you. They want you to stay in that
Right.
mindset. They don't
That's
want you
right.
to go leave the cave and realize, it's like Plato's cave, exactly like Plato's cave. When
Right.
people are just looking at it from the screen, oh, this is reality. But then somebody
Mhm.
comes along, hey, there's a little hardware situation going on here, and if you go up, you see a different reality, and they
Right.
start persecuting that person. Just like any of these new messengers and prophets, anybody who brings a new idea that challenges the system. And we're not talking about they as in we know these people, okay? Who are they? It's people like us who wants to maintain this level of control over other
Right.
people because it feels good.
That's right.
So
It's control. And for me, and I appreciate you, what will work for me is I definitely have the children in my mind every day. And the way that I can help is to continue to move forward, continue to show up, continue to speak, continue to talk about love, continue to talk about peace, continue to talk about Gaza, continue to talk about the atrocities, because it's all I know now. I know it's not only Gaza, it's other places,
exactly.
Congo, and and I want to be more aware to what's happening in the world, because that motivates me to get up every day and continue to radiate that, to be in that radiation of love, because it's not easy when you're seeing everything that's happening. However, that's the lesson, because they will win when we surrender and fall into our darkness.
Exactly right, and don't come with it with a hope only mentality. And I don't care much for hope, to be honest with you. I want authority in any intention. This is
Mm,
your this is
yes,
within you. That power within you. God given you this authority. Use it with authority.
love it.
Command things into
Yeah.
existence. I say it by the power of the I am that is within me. You say
Mhm.
it within the power. Why? What else? What else do we have? There's only one power
Right.
out there. There's only one truth.
And so I hear what you're saying, like hope is like, oh, maybe, but just know
No,
with
believe.
certainty, like belief.
Mm.
And it might not happen in my lifetime, our lifetime, but what we're planting now may make a change for the future.
Exactly, exactly. And I don't believe this. It's not going to happen in my life. No, it's going to happen in my reality. It's going to happen everywhere. Why not?
I hear you.
God is
You're
the
saying.
God of the impossible. We will not believe in a God who is limited. We believe in a God of the impossible. But even, let's say, for the worst case scenario that is so dense, it's going to take a couple of centuries for it to reach and go through this dense matter. Sure, but we have a responsibility to our children to do this for them on their behalf, so we could break their karma. They don't have to worry about living our karma and dealing with our debts. No, we have to clear that for the next generation, so they could start clean. They could start at least at the baseline where they're not even negative in their own conditioning. At least treat our children that, hey, you free sovereign creatures of the light, and you have the power to impact your reality. And this what should be taught in schools, to be honest with you, not
I
this
agree.
nonsense about
I agree.
I don't know what
I
else.
I agree. And I've taught my kids, and I see how they're so different than myself at their age. So
Yes,
I
yes, yes.
instill that level of awareness and that level of creation, in them. And so you're right. It's like we each need to do our part. We each need to be the pebble. We each need to be the mustard seed. So
Yes.
I have a question. I mean, here you are, this, incredible, can I say it? Well, not so macho, but here you are, this tough guy. You're a security officer, and you're, keeping peace. Yet, you have this, you know, deep spiritual side to you. You don't usually see that contrast.
Well, it was a long journey, Grace. It took me a long time to face my dark demons, so to speak. There was plenty. So it was an interesting journey towards self-discovery, and I'm very grateful for every minute of it, to be honest with you. Although it was an extremely painful, full of suffering experience, but it was the best teacher, like you said, is those tough circumstances that you find ourselves in, and once you navigate through them, you put something under your belt, like checking the box, done. Bring it on, bring it on. What's the next challenge?
Yes,
This is what
I'm
you have
so
to. Yeah,
I'm so with you. It's like bring it on. What's next?
exactly.
What's
That's it.
so I so what's next for you, Eddie?
What's next is we have to bring heaven on earth, Grace, and this is what
Yeah,
we're trying to do here. So this is the one thing that hasn't manifested yet. So we have to make it happen. There's
love it.
no issue, and we'll have a beautiful society. For me, I'm coming at it from a selfish point of view, to be honest with you, because I'm done with this whole system, this whole system that we find ourselves in is not doesn't fit my personality,
I
to be
hear you.
honest with you.
I
So I
hear
just
you.
want to things to be different and to be different for everybody in a beautiful way. And this is what we're seeing here. I think we're seeing a massive shift and a beautiful change that we're encountering globally, and that gives us faith that what is happening, irrespective of whatever impact we have over it, is happening based on a divine purpose and divine will and divine calculation and a divine equation that has been balanced before it even was written. So there's nothing to worry about. Relax, take it easy. We wish everybody well, and we wish everybody nothing but goodness and happiness and peace and prosperity and abundance. And that's this is our baseline. This is our what we're supposed to be doing.
Yes. Thank you. Peace, love, prosperity, abundance for everyone.
Bliss.
Yes,
Exactly.
yes, yes. And I hold that vision with you, even though,
And we,
people are like, you wear rose-colored glasses. It's okay. I will keep my rose-colored glasses.
it's
I am
okay.
definitely
It's okay.
aware. I'm aware. And so I thank you for just a beautiful, I mean, I respect your time. It's an hour and 20 minutes. I've never gone that long, but I felt it was just necessary.
It was a lovely encounter, Grace, and we look forward to more in the future, inshallah.
Yes,
Bi'izn Allah, actually, Bi'izn Allah,
yes,
with God's permission. That's another
yes.
word that I taught Hanan. The
Oh,
difference
Hania.
between inshallah, the difference between inshallah and bi'izn Allah. There's a difference in
So
language.
tell me, what's the difference between inshallah isn't Allah?
Inshallah in Arabic means God willing. He might will, he might not will. But when we say bi'izn Allah, means with God's permission. It means He's authorizing this to happen. And this is a certainty almost. When we say bi'izn Allah, it's a guarantee. When we say
Mm.
inshallah, it's giving yourself, a way out.
The isn't
So
Allah. So that's going to
bi'izn
be
Allah.
the isn't Allah always.
Bravo, bravo, exactly.
Oh, Eddie, I love you. You're amazing. Thank you so much for
Love
such a
you
deep,
too, Grace.
but don't go. Thank you so much for being impactful. I felt healing. I hope those that are watching, feel the same, that we can be the change by starting with us. And love is the highest vibration, even when it's challenging, And I honor everybody who, is in this struggle. We're in it together, and let's make an effort to move into that vibration of love, because that is where the magic does happen. So I love you all. Thank you for joining us. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments, because Eddie and I will be looking at them. God bless you all.
Thank you, Grace. Thank you,
All right.
everybody.
Hey, love, thank you so much for listening today. I am so grateful for you. I'd like to show you my appreciation by gifting you a free forgiveness self-hypnosis audio download. Part of living the fun and fabulous life is practicing forgiveness. Forgiveness can be such a long and challenging process. My intention is that this forgiveness audio will help you in practicing forgiveness, especially with yourself. Grab it by visiting daretoachieve.com/forgiveness. For more inspiring tips, make sure to connect with me on social media. Drop me a line on Facebook or Instagram at Grace Redman Dare to Achieve. Until next time, keep moving forward towards living your fabulous life.